There are two best practice options for navigating to CHAMPs that have been assigned to you in one of your responsible countries. The first option is to simply click on the hyperlink when you receive an email about a country impact report. This hyperlink will take you directly to that report where you can make your edits. The second option is to navigate to the module that's called Common, and then move down to All Activities or My Activities. I'm going to select All Activities and then filter by the responsible person's name. And here you can see all of Carrie Lou's reports, and then simply click on one of these links. Once you've successfully navigated to the regulatory impact report for your country, you're going to begin by editing the submission estimated date and then the estimated approval date. You can simply click here on the pencil, and I plan to make this submission in about 1 month, and I expect it to be approved in approximately 1 year. Once you click those two, you'll see a pop-up, and it's letting you know, it's just for information purposes, that a new regulatory action has been created for you automatically in Veeva. Simply hit OK. And the information to relate back to Veeva is auto-populated in this field. So this is now action number 17 for our number 335, which we will look at in a minute. The second piece of information that you are responsible for completing is under the country matrix. For this, always select yes, it is different from the country matrix, and enter the dates, the month information here. So I am going to estimate that the internal preparation time will take approximately 1 month, and the time of the authority will take 12 months. So that is the second piece of data that you are responsible for entering in CHAMP. The third piece of data is if you know you will need any requested documents for this submission. So for example, if I knew I would need a certificate of analysis from Global, I would simply select that here. And then I also know that I'm going to need a declaration of origin here. Now, I've entered all 3 elements, and I'm going to hit save, and then I'm going to set this record to complete. If you enter a record and you know that no regulatory action is going to be required, you will need to tick the box, no regulatory work needed, and simply hit save, followed by set as complete. In these cases, no Veeva reg action is completed and no additional work is needed from your side. Once you have marked the regulatory impact report complete in D365, you no longer have to go back into D365 any longer. Everything now will be done on the Veeva side and migrated directly back to D365 for that specific CHAMP. So I'm going to begin by navigating to the registration, which was number 335. Clicking on that registration and then going to regulatory action number 17, which you can see has been automatically generated and is here. You can see that part of the data that was ported over from D365 includes the CHAMP reference number, an action comment letting you know that this was automatically generated, and any of the information that was part of CHAMP, as well as the requested documents that you inputted. Now, currently the requested documents are only coming over into Veeva every night, but as part of phase 2, this will be done immediately upon creation. So for a few months, you will have to wait overnight for these to show up, but after that, we will make sure they are ported over immediately. So you also will see here the expected submission date and expected approval date also came over from D365 as well. So your work here is to complete the reg action as it is required by this authority and for this submission type. For this example, because I know this is part of the S&D, I'm going to first edit, and I'm going to update some of these fields. So I appreciate what came over, but I want to be sure I'm a little more thorough. And this is going to be an amendment for production site change. And then I'm going to remove this here and add my hashtag SND. And then hit save. Next, I'm going to be sure my requested documents have all the appropriate data for them. And I can do this by either right-clicking and opening them in a new tab, or you can edit the data directly from this screen. So you can simply click here and select the production site that I know is applicable. Or I can go directly into the request and be sure that this is valid data. So I know I'm going to need a production site here. I'm going to select that. And I'd like to make my remarks, letting the documentation team that this and then hit save. In the future, we also plan to have you as a reg manager take action and move this into a different state. But right now, we'll just leave it in pending, and we'll show you the future steps at the next training. So, but that will help make things a little easier. All right, so I've now taken care of my regulatory action details, my requested documents. I'm now going to attach anything that I plan to submit for this. So I have a couple forms that I want to add as attachments. And I can simply drag and drop them into the attachment section. So here are some application form, as well as one additional label. Here we go. So now I've added those two documents there. I'm going to move on to the specification tab, and I know that this impacts the specification section of this registration, so I will create a new specification here. Selected it and hit close. I'm going to hit save. Okay, and then I want to be sure, because this is an S&D request, that I update my production sites. So if you want these production sites to go back to D365, you have to input that information here. So I'm going to select the production site, enter the type that it is. This is a filling, and hit save. Now that all my data is complete, I'm ready to move this regulatory action to submitted. So I'll change the workflow, enter my submission date as, actually I ended up submitting it a few days earlier than expected. I expected to not enter it until next Thursday, but I got in a little bit earlier, and then hit start. So now we're going to fast forward to a year from the current time we made this submission, and this regulatory action has now been approved. So the first thing you'll need to do is add your approval document, so a received document. So you can simply go to this section, hit add, and I'm going to assume that I've already uploaded this document into Veeva, so I'm going to select that. If you haven't, you can simply hit create and upload from here. Close. And then you can, if you need to make any edits too, so if you ended up having maybe an additional production site that you did register, you make those edits now at this time. So I'm going to add one more production site to this registration. And now I know that I'm ready to move this registration to approved. So the approval date was a little sooner than we expected. So instead of the end of September, we ended up getting it at the end of August 2025. Now, once you hit start, we will go back and see in D365 how the data ported over. But also remember that you had to do none of that manually. That's all happening in the background for you. So I just wanted to show you what happens on the D365 side. And again, this is not done manually anymore. It's being done automatically. You can see that the submission date came over automatically, and the submission status for that country was set to complete automatically as well. And the same thing on the registration status approval. The registration date has been ported over automatically, as well as the production sites, and it has been set to complete automatically as well.